Well, we've had a murder on our streets, haven't we, with the use of a nerve agent. And it seems to me that everybody's leaping to the conclusions because it's supposedly a Russian nerve agent, that it must be the Russians who committed the murder. A bit like if it had been deliberately, the guy had been deliberately run over by a BMW, it would be automatically the fault of the Germans. It doesn't hold a lot of water. So what we need to do first when there's ever been a murder, and it doesn't matter whether you were an Agatha Christie fan or a Ruth Rendell fan, the first thing you do, is it not, is look for a motive. So who actually has a motive for this crass and rather stupid murder, indiscreet murder, to label it on the Russians, which of course is going to be immediately picked up by the wonderful Scotland Yard bungler of Conan Doyle. Which seems to be what's going on. Let's have a look at the motive. Who gets a win? Well, certainly Putin and the Russian government don't get a win from this. They come out of it badly, so it's difficult to believe that they had a motive. Who else has a motive? Well, the industrial military complex, as usual, have a motive by their continuing campaign for vilifying the Russians in order to perpetuate the Cold War, which is where they get their trillions of dollars of budget. So there's a motive there for the CIA. There's also a motive for those people who want to kill Brexit. Oh dear, look what will happen if we're all on our own. The big bad Russians will come and get us. I don't buy that. I don't know whether you do. There's also some other sinister people involved in this as well. Now, let's just have a look here. This guy, Sergei Skripal, was recruited by MI6. He was arrested by the Russians, sentenced to life imprisonment. He was released by the Russians in 2010 and has lived in this country for the last 8 years. So the Russians could have bumped him off any time they wanted to. And if they really thought he was a very bad guy, they didn't need to release him, which they did. Now, this guy has been associated quite openly by the two MI6 agents, Pablo Miller and Christopher Steele. And Christopher Steele has already been named by the FBI for being involved in dodgy dossiers before. Remember dodgy dossiers that got us into the Iraq war when we leapt in before we even gave it any thought. We bought everything that we were told. The government seemed to buy everything that they were told by MI6 and MI5. They seemed to believe it. But of course, it isn't that simple. It isn't that simple. They say, oh, goodness me, only this nerve agent could be manufactured by the Russians. But that isn't true. You're being told a lie. Dr. Robin Black, who was head of the Portland Down Chemical Warfare Department, said that this chemical agent, this supposed chemical agent, could be manufactured anywhere. And the question is, under the protocols for the prevention of chemical warfare, why aren't we releasing this for open, independent scrutiny to find out exactly what this nerve agent is? Why aren't we refusing to do that? Craig Murray, the recently retired ambassador to Moscow, says this whole thing is nonsense. It's whole nonsense. There's no motive, there's no evidence that this is a solely Russian-manufactured nerve agent. So we're rushing around like headless chickens, all trying to make political capital out of this, and even Julia Hartley-Brewer and Andrew Neil, who I know quite well, I thought they had rather more sense than to leap into this without any evidence. So all I'm saying is I had no brief at all for the Russian Federation, or MI6, or the CIA, a completely independent sort of guy, a juror, if you will, as you are watching this, you're a juror, the jury is out. Show us some evidence before we condemn the Russian Federation and get ourselves into a situation which is a lot more dangerous than most of us might imagine. Think on.